They said the truth won't survive beside the lies that maintain the decaying faces of display. Pill ill, y'all niggas better listen. I'm black 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 pill, I'm ill with this will. 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 Hey everybody, what's up, man? It's Hold the Truth Hostage, where if the truth wasn't so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. We would hold the truth hostage. Yeah, so like I said, this is another debunking episode, and exposing, debunking whatever's going on. Now, the thing I want to debunk is it more expensive to raise children than it ever was? Is it more expensive? Now, we see this online and on TV all the time, where they say, hey man, it's too expensive to have children. It's too expensive, too expensive, too expensive. But in reality, yes, the price has gone up. The price has gone up, due to employment issues, and also due to the employment practices of quotas and so on. There's so much manipulation going on with employment and earnings, raises and so on. But now, yes, the price has gone up, but at the same time, where it's being said, oh man, it's more expensive, too expensive to raise kids, this and that. In reality, it's not the expense. In reality, because of men right now, when they were to get married or get into a long-term relationship and end up having children and not having the ability to maintain or have authority without allowance, it basically raised up and increased the price of raising your children. You know what I'm saying? Since the men in the relationship, let's say you're a father, since you basically can't budget out the household, you can't make the budget, you know what I'm saying? The other thing you got to add in is the factor that you have the women have been basically programmed and raised that cooking for a man, taking care of the household and their children is basically slavery, or they're being forced and degrading. But when it comes to doing everything they just mentioned for the job, that's the positive. Working and cleaning for your boss, your job and everything like that, that's empowerment. That's empowerment. Not cooking and cleaning and working for your family, that's slavery. You know what I'm saying? This is why, like I said, I made a video way back, you know what I'm saying? I think I forgot the name of it, but I think it was maybe she's married to her job or something like that. I made some video. It's a video about women and their employment. So what's happened is, you know what I'm saying, you add in that factor. Let's say, I think the majority of women nowadays don't cook, whatever. So you got to add in how expensive it becomes to take her out to eat, then take the children out to eat, because she doesn't want to cook or clean, cook, whatever. So you got to add in those expenses. Then even baby formula you got to add in, because what's happened is breastfeeding your children is basically being seen as you being poor or you being forced to, or something. It's negative, whatever. There's negative condensation, negative aspects to it, feeding a child, whatever. So you got to add in the price, the expense of buying baby formula, because your girl doesn't want to breastfeed your baby, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So you got to add that in. You got to add in the fact she don't want to cook. So you got to add in that in. Then you got to add in the fact that you don't have the number one reason children are more expensive is that you as a man don't have any authority. So, you know, at the drop of a dime, she could threaten you for child support. If you're married, you could be threatened for divorce. So you have to live based on the lifestyle she wants. You know what I'm saying? So, because you got to look at it, you know, there's a lot of people that, as we call them, just comes to America. And, you know, America's very affordable. I mean, you could buy a pair of pants for like nothing. You know what I'm saying? You could buy a pair of pants at the value store, shoes, whatever. You could buy many things at an affordable price. The problem is that they're not mainstream brands, you know. So, for example, if you can't buy Nike, Reebok, Adidas, you know, the Yeezys, whatever, if you can't buy the name brand, you know, the brands that are highly sought after and in the mainstream, you're not successful. You know what I'm saying? Even though it doesn't make sense for you to, from a budgeting perspective, to buy your child at 5 years old a new pair of Jordans when that kid will outgrow those pairs within a couple months. You know what I'm saying? I've seen it. I mean, if it's within your bracket, yeah, you know what I mean? If it's in your bracket, yeah. But if you're having a child and, you know, money is tight, or you want to basically save money to have for your child's future college funds and all that stuff, yeah. You know what I'm saying? So you won't spend as much. So what's happened is there's a lot of narrative of, oh man, it's too expensive to have a child, it costs too much. When in reality, the cost comes from the fact that you have to live up to the woman you're with, her consumeristic desires and her consumeristic wants. You know what I'm saying? Because you got to look at it back then. You know, if you go further back, you know, a big example that's been destroyed. Yeah, a big example that's been destroyed and that has increased the pricing. And it is actually a sign of how destroyed families are, is that you used to have hand-me-downs. You know, you used to have hand-me-downs where people in your family would purposely save some jeans, clothing. They would save a lot of stuff they used for their future, you know, the future births of their family members. And what happened is there was a major campaign to actually shame people for wearing hand-me-downs, and you know what I'm saying, taking your cousin's old shoes, taking your cousin's old pants, shirts, you know, I guess comforters and all that stuff. There was a huge shame campaign because they wanted to deteriorate the emotional aspect of the hand-me-down, is that your relatives care for you so much that rather than waste and throw away something, they save it to give it to you in the near future. So that's what that was really about. A lot of hand-me-downs were actually family members being so caring for their next of kin that they wouldn't throw away things. I mean, some family members would literally create locations where they would stock things. So they would have baby strollers. You know, they'd have baby strollers. They'd have baby cribs. They'd have a lot of things they could just give to the next family. You know what I'm saying? Here you go. You know, our child's outgrown the baby stroller, and you just got pregnant. Here you go. Have this baby stroller. So, and I noticed that I think it was in the early 2000s, 1990s, they really made a push to shame the hand-me-down situation, where family members would save things to give to their next family member when in need. You know what I'm saying? Hand-me-downs were basically kind of like a storage. You know, family members would store things they no longer have use for that are still useful. You know, and the reason they pushed this narrative to destroy the hand-me-downs was basically to further escalate consumer activity. You know what I'm saying? Even though those shoes your cousin gave to you look great, nothing wrong with them, but they're not new. They're not the latest pair of shoes. You know what I'm saying? Pile that on with the legal statures that are now. Pile that on with child support. Pile that on with the legal advantage of divorce for the woman's side. And pile that on with the fact that the government is too invested between men and women. And you see how they've killed the hand-me-down. Now, it's not completely gone, you know. It's probably more active in certain states than others. But they've basically, on television, I remember watching sitcoms where they killed that. You know what I'm saying? The only thing they allowed to be hand-me-down was quilted. I remember watching Family Matters where the grandma said she quilted something that's been passed down from family to family. But, you know, other than that, what they've done is they've demonized hand-me-downs, which was a family activity of family members caring so much about each other, they would store things. And, you know, what's happened is really the expense of a family and starting a family, having a children, is that another thing that's happened, and I covered this on another video, another thing that's happened is that, man, it's, even though women are working, men are working, it basically, I did a video, I think it's called The Date Never Ends. So the man is paying for her food, and mind you, she has a job. Then he's got to pay for the food of the children. So it's cost on top of cost, because, you know, the men should be basically glued to that traditional behavior that no longer really exists. I mean, a lot of that traditional stuff had to do with the laws. It had to do with the fact that most women didn't have many choices when it came for employment. You know what I'm saying? So a lot of times the men were fronting the bill. And even when the men were fronting the bill for the relationships, it wasn't as much. You know, men and women didn't really go out that much because, hey, the woman would cook, the man would cook, they'd cook together or whatever. You know, it was all about budgeting and saving for their future family. And you know, that brings me to the other narrative that's happened, is that the woman, when women now, I think, have children, and their spending does not change. You know, we used to have that in the 90s where you could actually tell when a woman had a child. You know, when she was a mother, you could tell by how the clothing she was wearing. She was wearing less up to date, less high end fashion, because a lot of her focus was on the child now. The focus was on the child and saving and spending money to where you benefit the children in the family. Well, that has been removed, and a lot of men, it's happened on a lot of women will not change how they spend. So even if that woman had a baby, she's still gonna spend as though she doesn't have a child. And then it's happened to the men as well. The men that grew up without a father and don't have that you know, fatherly understanding, they'll spend the same as they used to before they had a child. So, for example, you'll see a father still buying the latest shoes, the latest brands, and they'll stockpile it on the children too. My kids need the latest Yeezys, the latest shoes, and the latest brands. So now the expense just skyrockets because you have two parents trying to spend. Because I've talked to a couple people I know that had kids, got married, whatever, and their expenses were still the same. They're still spending. It goes to, well, you know, I used to spend a lot of money on myself. Now I'm spending a lot of money on myself and my children, and I have to. I got to give them the latest. I got to make them rock this and that while there's no money being saved up for their education, no money being saved up for rainy days. it's all set up to consume, spend. You know what I'm saying? That's why you see they had to deteriorate the family unit in America and in the West in general. You know, for the sake of consumerism, you have to destroy the family, because the problem with a stable family household and a man with authority is that that man is minimalistic. That man will become even more minimalistic with children around. He's going to start saving money for their future education or sickness, illness. He's going to spend less. You know what I'm saying? Then that man's going to try to alter how he spends to put them in a better location. You know what I mean? So they had to deteriorate the family. And even a woman, this is a reason why they want women to have children a lot later than sooner, because if a woman was to, let's say, have a child around, let's say, 21, she got married, had a child at age 21 and started spending for the child first. That would mean from age 21 till about the kid is 18 to about 21 themselves. That's 21 years of that woman saving money and spending money to benefit her children. You know what I'm saying? Benefit the child and her family. And that right there would mean she's been removed out of the consumer, you know, the consumer section. You know what I'm saying? Because if back in the 90s, you used to see it where you'd be like, oh, wow, yeah, that's someone's mom. You know, you see how she's dressed. That's dressed like a mother. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, there's nothing like that. You know, she's dressing the same way she dressed before she even had a kid. You know what I'm saying? So now we have a society now where the parental figures just are consumers. You know what I'm saying? They've been consumers since they were children, and now they become consumers as adults and parents. You know what I'm saying? So I had to debunk the whole pricing thing, because the children, yes, it's gotten a little more expensive, but at the same time, it's not about how expensive things have gotten. It's really about how unmanageable having a family has become when you as a man basically have no say. You have no say in everything you want that'll benefit your family. You know, your girl being able to cook so she could feed her children food that she's seen and prepared for their own health. That's being seen as toxic masculinity, and that's being seen as slavery. You know what I'm saying? So what's really happened is, it isn't that the children have gotten far less affordable to take care of. Because, I mean, if you go around the neighborhood, there's nothing. There's hundreds of value brands and stores, you know, mainstream brands that'll sell you a pair of jeans for like $5. You know what I'm saying? There's hundreds of thousands of those, you know, on or offline. But since you can't manage and minimalize your family anymore as a man, you have no say so. That's why the expenses have gone so high when it comes to having a child. You know what I mean? How you gonna you can't really raise a family. That's why I did that video, Dating Never Ends. Dating never ends, because in modern society, because listen to this, like I said on my last debunked video, the traditional family is a scam. The traditional relationship is a scam, because it's based on traditions that had laws with them. You know what I'm saying? There were laws that made it traditional. You know what I'm saying? It's a scam. So the prices have gone up, you know, to raise a kid, because you legally can't be traditional anymore. You legally can't budget and minimalize the budget to raise and take care of your children. But, you know, this has been hold the truth hostage, where if the truth was so important, we wouldn't negotiate with lies. We would hold the truth hostage. And this has been another Manosphere Debunking, sponsored by Gentleman's Vigor. Gentleman's Vigor. You just spray it on your anus and you will be a gentleman. Gentleman's Vigor. been sponsoring the manosphere since the delusion of the traditional family in the 2000s. Gentleman's Vigor. If you order right now, $9.99 for a bottle of Gentleman's Vigor, and you'll be able to spray Gentleman's Vigor on your anus to become a gentleman again and be living the traditional values of man. Gentleman's Vigor, only $9.99, and if you order right now, we'll send you another bottle for 10% off. Gentleman's Vigor. Alrighty, well, peace. Pill ill, y'all niggas better listen. I'm black 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 pill, I'm ill with this will. 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 They said the truth won't survive beside the lies that maintain the decaying faces of display.